I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days.
All my garden enthusiasts and passionate plant people. Welcome to the Let's Get Growing show right here on the Urban Gardener channel. It's the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show, too. I'm Enoch. I'm your host. And not only is it the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show, it's the third Sunday of the month edition of the Let's Get Growing show. And that means today it is our monthly gardening book club. So right on, not only does that mean we've got our good friend, Mr. Marc Bouchert-Colbert, joining with us live here on the show today as our book club co-host. We also have joining with us author Emily Murphy, talking all about her book, Grow Now. We got Emily joining with us here just a little bit later on in the show. We'll talk all about this really awesome book, Grow Now, Go Beyond Organic, Rewild Your Land, Sequester Carbon, Support Biodiversity. Really great book. Got my copy right here. I know Mark's got his copy. We're going to be ready to talk all about this really, really great book with author Emily Murphy to hear just a little bit later on in the show. And also, everybody, remember too to jump into the chat right now. Let us know you're here. We got roll call coming up here in just a couple of minutes. So let us know you're here. Let us know what you've got growing on, where you're growing from too. We love to see where you're from and where you're joining us from and all of that too as well. So jump into the chat and let us know you're here. And we'll have a roll call here in just a few minutes. But right here at the top of the show, let's go ahead and click that like button. Yeah, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so that you can be notified of all of our upcoming live stream shows here on the Let's Get Growing show, as well as share with all of your friends. Let your friends know, let all those garden friends and all of that know about our 3-day gardening talk weekend right here on the Let's Get Growing show. That's right, 3-day weekends here every weekend on the Let's Get Growing show, or most every weekend. I guess there are caveats every now and then, like last week, but we are here every Saturday and Sunday right here at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and as well our third show of the week on Monday evenings. That's our Green Room show with Natalie from the Fresh Princess joins us as co-host, and we have a great conversation with a couple of great gardeners every Monday, and that's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely come and join with us for our Green Room shows coming up tomorrow night. I'll let you know who we've got joining with us tomorrow night a little bit later on here on the show. And here, real quick, too, let's have a big, huge shout out to Team Replay. Those of you who are joining us on your time, joining us on the replay. Thank you so much for being here. It's really awesome to have you here again on your time. It's a great thing about doing these live streams on YouTube like this. They're always saved as videos you can watch anytime if you want. So thank you so much. And jump into the comments section. Let me know you are here. Let me know what you got growing on, all of that. Love to hear from all of you. So definitely do that. Jump into the comments there. And again, if you are here with us live, though, right now, and I know we got several people here with us already, definitely join in on the conversation. Let us know you're here. Again, all of you for roll call coming up here in just a moment. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're growing from, what you've got growing on in your gardens. We love to hear all about what you've got growing on, and definitely drop in all of your questions and comments and all of that. And we'll try to feature those throughout the show. and definitely questions for our guests later on the show as well too. We have links down in the description for our guests, how to get a copy of our featured book this month, Grow Now, and all of our contributors and all of that as well too down in the description. Definitely go and click over, check out what they've got going on, and maybe go leave them a comment somewhere and let them know you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. Again, so great to have all of you here with us today. I will just say this here: if you were with us here yesterday on the show, we had with us our good friend Gardner Scott Wilson, joining us to do Ask Gardner Scott on a Saturday and on the same week of our book club. He's usually here on the second Sunday with us, but schedule changed and we moved him up to this last Saturday. So we had all your garden questions answered. Tons and tons of really great things to talk about there. We also got to meet Jamie from the Desert Rat Gardener. Really great conversation. Really awesome to check out what she's got growing on. You want to go back and check out that show. Yesterday I was talking about on the show about we had this really crazy freeze that happened over a couple of nights ago here, and just got way colder than what it even said on our on our weather report that I was looking at and everything. And it really wreaked some havoc with some of my fig trees and some other things out there. But I was talking with Scott yesterday, and I didn't even think about some of the because I only went out there for a few minutes or something as I was getting ready for the show yesterday, and was kind of noticing and did a little video shot I did at the beginning of the show yesterday too, to show what the damage looked like on these fig trees. And he was talking to me about that, and I did think it was like thinking about all the other fruit trees I have. I've got pear trees. I've got a peach. I've got a couple of apple trees out there as well too. And I was like, I don't even want to have to go out there, out in the back and in the patio, and go and find out and see what happened after this freeze, to see if we lost all of our blooms and all these in fact, they've been out blooming already long enough now that they're newly forming fruits on them, right? So I did go out there and check yesterday and again today after another night. It didn't get that cold as it has though last night, so thankfully. But I still see those little puffball brand new fruits on the peach tree out there. The pear tree's got a ton of cool little pear fruits that are forming on it. So, and the apple trees actually still got some blooms all over it too as well. So I got my fingers crossed. The only time will tell whether that's really going to wreak some more havoc. We could see all of those pears just fall here over the next couple of days, and same with all the rest of it as well too, from the effects of that too. But like I said, I got my fingers crossed. I really, I was just talking about this the other day about how, over the last couple of weeks, about how I wanted to get ahead of things, and it's been really, really warm, but you just never know. Nature will throw you some crazy curveballs, when it comes down to it. And that was one for sure. All right, everybody. I hope y'all been jumping in here for and letting us know where you're growing from, what you got growing on, and all of that, because it's time for roll call.
My name is Kevin.
Yeah.
That is my name.
Yeah.
They call me Kevin.
Yeah.
Because that's my name.
Roll call.
All right. It's that time right here at the top of the show where we do our roll call. And this is our opportunity to say hello to all of you who are joining with us here on the show, because that's what this show is all about, is you, our audience, who are joining with us each and every weekend here on the Let's Get Growing show. So it's always fun to be able to have a moment here at the top of the show to be able to say hello to all of you out there spending your weekend with us. And again, too, for all of you on the replay, I still want to hear from all of you in the comments too as well. But right here at the top of roll call, let's go ahead and say hello to our good friend and show facilitator, chat facilitator, backstage producer, all around helper, the J-Bot, doing all sorts of roles for us here on the Let's Get Growing show, joining us from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, Canada, in the lee of Lake Huron. Thanks again, Jay, for all that you do. And everybody, keep an eye out in the chat for links and different bits of information throughout the show. And yeah, again, thanks, Jay, for being here. We've got Muddy Puddles Farm here with us today. Joe, how are you doing? Joining us from over in, she says, cloudy, cool Cornwall, UK, where the carrots are germinating. All right, awesome, awesome. They're finally coming up. Carrots could be kind of slow germinators, so it's good to see you're seeing yours coming up for sure. So great to have you here with us. Thank you so much. We've got David, Bowtie Life in the Garden, Triple G greetings, global gardeners from the Emerald Coast of Florida, in the heart of Old Destin, where temperatures dip to 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my gosh, so cold. Wow. Midday under clouds, barely a drop of rain. All right. All right. Well, great to have you here with us, David. Thanks for joining with us here. Joe says, she says, okay, just saying more about carrots and peas and the calendulas as well. And the odd weed or so as well, too, coming up. Awesome. Awesome. And more. I see. Okay. Getting some of these other things. I need to keep on track here. All right. Sean the gardener as well from Cornwall, joining with us here in the UK. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's always great to see you here in the conversation. And we've got Michael O'Connor joining with us as well, too, joining us from North Alabama, Zone 8A. Thanks, Michael, for being here. Awesome to have you here with us today. And we got Frank. Awesome to have you here, Frank. Good to see you in the conversation with us. We got our co-host today joining with us here in the conversation as well, right here for roll call. We've got our good friend, Mr. MBC here from lovely Portlandia, Oregon, right up north, the northern side of Oregon, where I'm down on the southern side. Great to have you here with us. We'll talk with you here in just a moment. And Frank says, I started a whole bunch of vegetables. All right. And Habitual Hobbies says, hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you. Great to have you here with us. Thanks for jumping in on the conversation with us today. We've got Dusty Flats here as well. Survived a week of tornadoes and hail in Wisconsin, battling freezing temps now, and I dropped a flat of peppers. What's not to like? Dropped them. Oh no. Hopefully we got a bunch of survivors. I've done that before. Believe me, I'm sure most of us gardeners are familiar with that one. Dropping a whole flat of whatever it is, man. You're just hoping that most of it all survives, right? It says 30 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, colder tonight, and hope they are wrong for Monday night. Yeah, hope they're wrong. That's what I was saying. I was hoping they were wrong the other night too as well, but they were wrong. They were wrong in the wrong direction, though. Oh, man. Oh, and we got... Nope. Joining us here as well. Hello. Great to see you here. Cam joining us from Vegas. Saying hello, everyone. About to transplant a bunch of stuff today with my daughter. Awesome. Sharing some gardening with your daughter. That sounds amazing. About to get dirty. Kale, flowers, peppers, tomatoes, marigolds. Awesome. Excellent. Right on. Methydicus albriticus. Says, I hear you, Dusty. Right. Exactly. And Janet with us here as well, too. Great to have you here. Somebody say hi, Eddie. Eddie with us as well, too. Great to have you here. And brother from the mountain over me. All right. Excellent. Let's see here. Michael says tonight it's about 40s, but 66 today, 70s and 80s back this week. Yeah, temperatures are just all over the place right now. Just really kind of craziness going on for sure. We've got Sam in here, says 28 degree freeze warning tonight here in 6B, Ohio. Oh boy, Garden Gurus, big things growing on here this season. Yes, yes, yes. Hopefully, you got lots of great things growing on this season. And let's see here. Janet says joining us from Austin, Texas, in Zone 9A. Normal weather, 70s, 50s, except rained. Grateful for the rain, right? Exactly, exactly. And what's this here? Frank says I woke up at 2 a.m. and started filling cups with potting. So woke up with a little need to do something, huh? Might as well get to potting up some plants and getting some things going, right? When you can't get some sleep in the middle of the night, right? That's for sure. I've done that plenty of times myself, for sure. But thank you everybody for jumping in here for our roll call today. It's great to have you here with us, and again, continue to jump into the conversation throughout the show. Your questions for our guest coming up and all of that, and we'll try to feature those throughout the show. But again, everybody, thank you so much for being here with us today. Not only do we have all of you here with us today, we also got our good friend, Mr. MBC, joining us here, because the cool thing about having him here live as co-host for our book club, we also got him here live with us for In the Garden. All right, so let's welcome to the show our good friend, Mr. MBC, Marc Bouchert-Colbert.
Hey, everybody.
Urban Ag Solutions, our man, the man.
Great
How
to
you
be.
doing?
It's always great to come to this third Sunday. You know, Enoch, when I listen to you rattle through, it's like the flavor of the week for you is book group third Sunday, but you got a flavor for every Sunday and every Saturday and every Monday. It's incredible.
I know it's amazing here. Although we're I'm gonna call it just a little bit of a bumpy road over the next few weeks and all of that. I'll talk about that at the end of the show when it comes to upcoming shows and all that. But we always got something good growing on around here for Let's Get Growing show. Tons of great guests, great conversations all around gardening every weekend, 3-day weekends every weekend. Well, except for last weekend. But
Well, I had the distinct pleasure of jumping onto one of your Monday shows.
oh yeah, that's right. You
Couple of
did
weeks
that
ago
since
with
the last
Natalie
time.
and that giant of a tomato grower, Craig LaHoulier.
I know who we had on our book club a while back ago.
That guy blows my mind. So that was a great time. It was kind of fun to have a Monday night vibe versus a Sunday morning vibe on with you and this programming. So that was really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think at one point in time, back in the day, at some point in time, I'm sure we've had you on the Saturday show, which is, again, a little bit different from the Sunday show. We like to make sure they're a little bit different, each one. But this new Monday show is really fun. Natalie is just really great. She brings a great vibe to the show. We have lots of fun with the conversation. We, play a little games as well, too. And just, it's just a whole new, different type of vibe on Monday evening. And it was really fun to have you. And again, with Craig too, which was similar to when we had him on the book club. I mean, that guy just brings it when it comes to tomatoes. And of course, most gardeners out there love growing tomatoes. It's one of the top crops when you're a gardener and especially first getting growing and all of that. So the questions were just coming in like crazy for Craig about all sorts of different things. It was tomato talk for sure.
Well, here's a fun corollary to that. The last couple of weeks, I teach at a elementary school, goes up through middle school, Franciscan Montessori Earth School. I teach gardening, and a great job. I just totally love my job. But I was having
that's a dream job, Mark.
Dream job, it really is. So I was talking with this one young woman who's a seventh grader, who was kind of getting really intrigued about tomato varieties, and how they emerge, why there's so many varieties, because we've been busy at school transplanting tomatoes, getting ready for a sale in a couple of weeks. And so I was like, hey, I got the book for you. So I brought her the Craig LaHoulier book. I loaned it to her. It's a great book because not only does it have tons of information, but it has great photographs, and it's very kind of like sexy in terms of its layout. So it's really like anything anybody can dive into. So now I got the seventh grader going down the tomato rabbit hole, and I feel like, what a score. You know, and I have
Hmm.
only Craig LaHoulier to thank for bringing all his knowledge into a book form that somebody can, even a seventh grader can appreciate. So that felt like a real interesting outgrowth of book group and of my time getting to know Craig LaHoulier. That was really perfect.
Yeah, yeah. No, again, too, I just love these gardeners with a lifelong, passion for growing and gardening, but this knowledge and experience that they get to share with all of us and everything. And again, he just really brings it. I encourage folks too, if you didn't get a chance to check out that conversation with Craig LaHoulier and Mark and I and Natalie on our green room show, you have to go back. I'm sure Jake could probably pop us a link into the comments for folks if you want to go back and check that out. It's definitely a conversation worth going back and checking out for sure. So, and again, fun to have you on too with again, you're here usually when you're here live with us, usually pre-recorded for the in garden segment, but we
Yeah.
get you live here, which is great, once a month and everything too for our book club, but as a co-host, right? So this time, get you on as a guest with our other co-hosts. So I had my co-hosts together too. It was really kind of cool.
Well, I gotta say, you guys kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop because you do the lightning around 10 questions, and I'm not used. You know, sometimes even though I usually have a lot to say on a lot of different things, and I'm not usually short for words.
Yeah.
Somehow those, like, what's your favorite this or that or best? Some of those experiences, like if you ask me what's your favorite movie, like I go into like deer in the headlights mode. I'm like, because my brain's trying to think of all the movies.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at those. So all of a sudden we were like Natalie's like 10 questions in a row about gardening. And I was like stumbling through that. It was a little humiliating, but it was good. I was like, okay, now I'm in the hot seat. So I'm gonna remember not to ask Emily Murphy today her 10 favorite this or that or best.
I know. Put people in the hot seat. That was one of the things that we were talking about when we were kind of coming up with the idea. I wanted to do this show and kind of have this opportunity to be able to bring people back on and have these longer, fun conversations and everything. So we kind of came up with this panel format and Natalie brought the idea, like, we need to do something like right off the bat to just really kind of throw our guests right into,
No, it was
right
effective.
into
It was
the
effective.
conversation. And it's so perfect. Lightning round, throw 10 questions at you real quick. Boom, 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 boom. And it's great to see. So far, we've done plenty of shows now too. And it's really been fun to see how people kind of react to being in the hot seat like that.
Yeah, so I got quite a shakeup by changing which side of the program I was on.
Yeah, like Habitual Hobbies, who was a guest in one of those green room hot seats as well too. And she's like, should I have said that?
Yeah,
Because
right.
you're just throwing things out there.
Exactly. Anyway, it was great fun. It was great fun and fun to come home from work at the end of a Monday and like eat a quick dinner. I'm like, I gotta go be on Enix's program in the dark, kind of the dark of night versus the bright sun of the
Hmm.
morning.
Yeah. And that's another thing though, too, is being kind of like a weekend, kind of one of those weekend kind of morning, afternoon type shows, that sort of thing, which is great. And it's fun for the weekend, but we really wanted to kind of get into that other kind of time slot area in the evening, so it was kind of perfect to kind of do a Monday evening show like that and kind of give people who are more available for evening type of conversations have a chance to get in on them.
Yeah, you gotta cast a wide net to get them all, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and it's been really fun. But tell us, we're in the garden right now. Mark, tell us a little bit about what's been growing on for you in the garden, in
Well, okay, so
all of your gardens. I know we got all sorts of different gardens to talk about, but
yeah,
what's a
let's
big
talk
theme
about.
going on right now?
Okay, so I think I was telling you ahead of going live here that I've been doing so much transplanting. I feel like I need a brain transplant. It's like all I do is, it's kind of funny, I go to school, I work as a gardener at school, as an educator, do all kinds of things. Like we're in the middle of doing all this transplanting. Then I come home and I basically like do the same thing at night or on the weekend. I'm like transplanting. So I was just
Mhm.
doing peppers yesterday. We've been doing tomatoes at school. Um, I was, I'm in, I have like probably most people, I have limited grow light space, limited shelf space. And of course, we have to start a lot of our tender plants, at least in the northern climates, indoors and nurture them indoors for quite a while. And as this time of the year is very unpredictable in terms of nighttime temps and, just generally way too low for the heat loving stuff. So it is this constant dance of I either have to put things on trays, bring them inside at night, put them outside in the morning. There's always the chance that I might fall asleep on the couch and forget some stuff outside. And then I wake up in the morning, it's like, oh my God, what temperature is it? I rush to the app and try to find out if it's too cold or not. It doesn't even matter because they, of course, are outside all night.
Right. They've already
succulents I overwintered in the grow room light. And that's been largely successful, but now they need to go out. They're getting kicked out because I need the light space. So it's
so it's time to harden them off and getting them ready and getting them out there. And
the whole thing about hardening off,
I got my tomatoes we're working on with right now, transplants ready to go.
Yeah, if you leave for work in the morning and it's gray and cloudy and you think, I'll just put this tray of stuff outside, and then I'm 10 miles away and all of a sudden the bright sun comes out in the middle of the day, as it often does in Portland. It's like, oh no, I should have did that. So it's a time of high anxiety in the garden, I have to say.
I know, as I say it is that us gardeners who just anticipate this time of year so much, just set ourselves up for it, right?
Totally. I mean, there is a kind of a bracing. Maybe that's one of the wisdoms that I've gotten over the years. It'd be like, just try to keep April and May relatively open. I mean, don't clog it up with a lot of commitments. Do not. I have to go. I told you I have to go away next weekend for a wedding, but I'm not, on the pure gardening side of it, I'm not looking forward to it. Of course, I'm looking forward to the celebration, but it's kind of like, oh, you got to just grit your teeth. It's like, why did they have to schedule a wedding in April? It's going to mess up my gardening.
Yeah. It's going to get into my whole schedule, man.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's like you got to simplify. I spend the winter doing a lot of other little hobbies and reading and stuff like that. And I just know I got to brace myself coming into March. Kind of spring break is my bright line. After spring break at school, I'm just like, all right, I got to just be dedicated now. I'm going to be getting up early, like somebody was saying, and I'm going to be planting plants or seeding things before I go to work. Then I'm going to work. Then I'm coming home and I got to do some more. It's never totally done for at least for like 3 months. And then maybe there's a time to catch your breath after a certain number of things have been seeded up. And it's kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
And we're not even into watering yet. So it's like, woo. We're not, there's more coming. It's not even done yet.
I know, we're not even quite there yet, for sure. Yeah. How about a couple nights back, did you guys get freezing temperature up there in Portland? I know, down here in Southern Oregon, I was mentioning earlier, the weather person, we hope that they're wrong. Sometimes one of the comments that came in, but when we hope that they're wrong, we're hoping on the warmer side of things. For us down here in Southern Oregon, man, it was completely the opposite. They were wrong, but it was the opposite. It was a lot colder overnight. We got this really, really hard freeze over the last couple of nights in a row that just really wreaked some havoc on some of my trees and things that are out there. So how'd things go up in Portland as far as that goes?
Well, luckily we didn't get that. It did get colder. And, I think it's kind of ironic because, as you know, we've had quite a mild winter out here. So to have some hard freezes later than we usually get them is tough. We didn't get a frost.
You're worried about a frost, but the freeze like that is just something else.
I did send myself and a few friends panicking because on my weather app, we had been out to Eastern Oregon during spring break. And for some reason, the app kept looping back into Bend, where we had passed Bend, Oregon. So that's kind of like, getting to high desert. So I saw out there, it was like going to be 27 one night and 30 and then 32 for 3 nights in a row. But I thought it was Portland. I was like, oh my God, it's like, how are we going to deal with this? This is too cold for this time of year. But luckily it didn't go there. Maybe got to 38 or 39. So we were still a ways away from a frost even. So thankfully. It's a panic. Like you said, you go out and look at your fruit trees. Is everything okay? Is it going to be okay? And for a
Yeah.
while, they don't really have a way of knowing until things start to either fall off or keep growing, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's just some things too, like I said, I mean, I've got some container trees that are just in big pots. There's no way I'm moving them or
Yeah.
doing certain things with them and that sort of thing, so they're kinda just out there. But I thought it was gonna get cool enough to get a frost, so I pulled a couple of the smaller ones I could and got some things under cover and everything, but when again, like you said, you wake up and you look at like, "Oh, what was the temperature?" And you find out it was, like, a lot colder than what you were anticipating and went into freezing territory. I'm scrambling and going, "Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what it looks like out there,"
You know,
And yeah, I
it
went out there
reminds
and the
me of
fig trees I showed at the beginning of the show yesterday on our video clip, the fig trees leaves are all shriveled up because it's been so warm. They've been growing like crazy too. So
yeah.
putting out
I mean,
lots of new leaves and fresh, soft leaves and everything that just shriveled right up.
it's that combo of a warm winter and a lot of early growth, and then now the kick of kick in the right
Yeah.
in the knees
Yep.
as you're going along, and then this frost comes.
Yep.
It reminds me,
Yeah.
my wife's from LA, and her folks moved out to Camarillo, Ventura County. Lot of avocados grown out there, and or they actually moved to Selmas, a nearby town. Same, a lot of agriculture. So on the back of their property, they had a couple acres of avocados growing. And when and they've passed on now, but years ago, we went down to visit them at this property
Mhm.
and we were sleeping. And in the middle of the night, it was during the winter, I heard this thing that sounded like a cargo plane, like about to land
Wow.
in the backyard. It just scared
Wow.
the heck out of me. I was like, what the heck is that? It's huge propeller, sound. And then I realized it was their frost control system because, down there,
Yes.
again, like
Yep.
it just one or two, they maybe get just a few nights of frost during the year, but man, if your whole crop depends on it, you have to
Yep.
protect against that. So they had these tremendous, they used to use the smoke pots, and they may probably still do the little
I
fire
know
pot.
that's what I was gonna mention. We've got orchards out and around here that still use the pots. So they're
Yeah,
out there lighting those things and keeping them lit all night long, throughout those type of nights, but hopefully again, that's where you're really worried is these big orchards and those folks who've got their farms and things, when those sort of
yeah.
things happen. That's can really wreak some havoc for sure.
Well, this thing looked like a giant windmill, and it would turn around, and it was connected to propane. It would just blow hot air through the whole orchard. What a concept!
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
So
see, David says it's National Garlic Day. Did you know it was National Garlic Day?
I did not.
I
I'm
did
happy.
not know that. Yeah, well, all right. What a surprise celebration for us then. Happy National Garlic Day, everyone. Like Bowtie says, it's a U.S. holiday, but happy to extend the greetings to all our worldwide audience. Hope you all got some great garlic growing on in the ground. All right. Well, Mark, it's time for us to get moving on
Oh,
today.
yeah,
We got a
we got
great
something
book
bigger and
club
better
here
than just
coming
us
up.
chatting,
So,
right? We got a guest.
yeah, that's right. I know. We could just keep on chatting and chatting. But yeah, let's get moving on today. We'll be right back here in just a moment. We'll get this book club started up.
All right.
Ivy Organic was founded on the gardening concept of whitewashing, simply lightening your plants to better tolerate weather extremes, transplant shock, and so much more. Such a valuable gardening practice that farmers have been doing it since BC times. However, in recent years, most research has been caring for plants and trees using latex and tar-based products which are designed to last 100 years but fall off your plants within 1 to 2 years as your plants grow, contaminating your garden soil indefinitely. Available in colors white or more natural looking colors such as brown, green, gray, and grayish. Ivy Organic has 2 general categories of whitewash products. The 3-in-1 Plant Guard, which includes 7 natural oils including castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint, which offer insect and rodent repellent protection, and the Whitewash Oil Free formula. Both products also have diatomaceous earth in the base ingredients, which naturally offer some insect repellent protection too. As always, keep growing with Ivy Organics and wishing you all happy gardening.
All right. Here we are back at it.
Let's go.
Let's go. It's time for, or wait, no, actually, you know what? I got to do something real quick. I almost forget this, but let's first just let everybody know real quick what we had growing on this last week on the show. In fact, last Saturday on the show, we had with us Mike McGrath from You Bet Your Garden joining with us. A really great conversation with an old school gardener. And as well, we got to meet Noel from Homestead Culture joining with us last Saturday. Mike McGrath is one of those guys who's got a long career in gardening. He was the editor-in-chief of Organic Gardening Magazine.
Yeah, that's right.
He spent years on morning television talking about gardening, and then years on NPR with You Bet Your Garden. He's always got some great fun stories. It's kind of like Cisco when you get Cisco around too as well. Just some great fun conversations. So you want to go back and check out last week's show with Mike McGrath for sure for our Saturday show. And then last Sunday on the show, we had a community show too. Yes, this is where you, the audience, are the guest, where we get a chance to hang out with all of you who hang out with us each and every weekend. So we really appreciate all of you who join with us. And it's really great to get together, kind of put some faces to the names we get to see in the conversation each and every weekend. And what I do is kind of like a radio show. You know, you get to call in. I just hand out the studio link, and you get to come join with us right live on video, and we get to talk with you all about what you've got growing on in your gardens and everything. A great way to kind of just share this live space every now and then with all of our community who's just so awesome to come hang out with us each and every weekend. So go back and check out that show if you didn't.
You're like the gardening equivalent of the old school AM talk show host, right? I mean,
yeah, in a way, right?
Yeah, just that thing that you always have in the background of a workshop. When you go into anybody's workshop, there's always like some talk show guy going on and on. That's you.
That's right. That's what we try to be. I want to be that weekend gardening conversation, that everybody gets to enjoy, all of our stories and garden histories and things like that, from all these just amazing, as you put it, and I keep saying this a lot lately, all these wonderful garden luminaries, like our next guest that we've got coming up here for a book club. So I know we're going on today, so let's get this moving. We've got a really awesome monthly garden book club. Let's get it going. All right. So yes, indeed, it is monthly gardening book club, where we get together here every third Sunday of the month, right here on our Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show, to highlight and feature a book each and every month. And this month's book is Grow Now by Emily Murphy. I've been just digging in and reading this book, and
great book.
Just awesome book again too. And I was saying this before the show too, I just really enjoy that. Again, you know a lot about again too, rewilding your land, like it says on the cover, all this sort of great environmental consciousness type of stuff that I was looking to get into, but also just a really great how to get started in growing a garden. I mean, there's so much great gardening instruction and education and all that sort of stuff throughout this whole book, but a lot of how that connects with us and our environment and what we can all do about it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, you're right, it's both practical, but there's like, this book has layers within layers within layers. So it goes as big as the whole social climate issues that we're facing, and then it goes down to like how to make potting soil compost and don't disturb your microbiome when you're planting. So all these kind of everything from very practical embodied tips to like, how do we confront this eco-anxiety that makes me want to shut off the radio every time I hear some bad news?
Yeah, exactly, right.
And I think this conversation is going to jump between scales. It would be like big talk, little talk, big talk, little talk.
Yeah, for sure. Really, really excited to get into it. We've been making her wait back here backstage. So let's go ahead and welcome to the show our featured author of the book, Grow Now. We've got Emily Murphy with us today. Let me get this right.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Great to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for joining with us on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Sticking with me. I'm glad to finally be on your show.
I know. Yeah, I know. Right. I was.
Long-winded introductions here. My God, I was like, be a few
Yes. Thanks for
minutes.
sticking with us.
That wasn't a reference to the introduction so much as just we've been talking for a while about
I
getting
know.
on,
We've
so.
actually, I was telling Mark about this before the show. We've actually been trying to connect for a few years now. In fact, there was a few years back, I was going to come by and do like an interview with you in one of your growing spaces and do like a video interview. And I had like a car thing come up and had to cancel some stuff. And that interview with you is one of them. And I've always been trying to like get back to getting you on, and since we started the show and everything. So it's been a little while, but we finally made it happen, and happen around this just really great book of yours, Grow Now. Just really exceptional. I'm so glad that we were able to feature this for our book club. So yeah, definitely. Hopefully. And again, I'll mention to everybody who's watching with us too, we've got links down below in the description so that you can get yourself a copy of this just really awesome book that we're talking about today. And real quick, before we do really get into the conversation, Emily, I want to give you a minute or two here. Just kind of introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself and what you share with everybody online, and all of that as well too as your other books.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much. Yeah. So for anyone out there who's listening who's not familiar with my work, I have 2 books out. Grow What You Love was my first book. It released in 2018 with Firefly Books out of Toronto. And Grow Now released in 2022, which was exciting. It's a COVID book. It was conceived well before COVID, but written during COVID. And
when you found the time to get to it, right?
it was
handed to you.
Definitely a crazy time, because in that book, as you'll see, I visit quite a few different gardens as a case study for the material itself. And COVID, of course, made that challenging on one hand. On the other hand, we were outdoors when photographing gardens. And so that was the blessing that we could still, I could still meet with different people in their spaces to learn from their gardens. And I really wanted to bring that element to the book. It was essential to look at the various forms of rewilding at scale, regenerating from container gardens to large scale gardens, rooftop gardens, etc. And so those books really are that chapter, I guess, going back to COVID, the second book, born out of that time. One of my favorite photos in the garden or in the book is on page 80. And it's, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a COVID garden that popped up in my neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
And everything, or many of the plants were on pallets with casters so they could wheel them around. Not all of them, not the fruit trees that you see in the barrels, but literally COVID happened and that garden appeared. It was remarkable. And in that way, I was able to also then understand and bring to the book this sense of healing that we have when we garden, the sense of self-reliance, hope, all of those things wrapped up in that container garden, for instance, that you see on page 80. And that was really what I was hoping to bring to the work itself, and help people find confidence to grow and understand their personal imprint and what that could mean, how we can grow more good together.
Nice.
So I don't know if that explains who I am and my background, but that's a little bit about the books. But leading up to the books, I can touch on that just a little bit. I have a background in botany, specifically ethnobotany, environmental science, ecology, and with that also I studied under an archetypal psychologist in religious philosophy. So completely other avenue that I was interested in my younger years, and I still bring that to my current work, and thinking one of the aspects, for instance, in Grow Now is how words create worlds, and those types of thinkings of these deeper ways, I guess, of looking at deeper yet simple ways of looking at how we interact with the world, the words we use, such as rewild, regenerate, restore, and how important those words are. And some of those interests come from that earlier background. And then on top of that background, I was very lucky to be raised in a family where we always had a small garden. My parents had just a small plot with carrots, my mom's strawberries, sometimes some lettuces, radishes, but very fruit forward. And my grandmother, she had a homestead, and my paternal grandparents had a farm in Sonoma County, California. And so I was raised around food growing and what was in season, and really celebrating the seasons through food. And with my grandmother's homestead, which I touch on in this book, and I think the first book as well, it's nestled in the Sonoma foothills where the oak trees meet redwoods, and outside my grandmother's garden, just outside that fence, is the wild. And so if you think about edges and ecotones that make up these unique landscapes, my grandmother's garden was its own ecosystem that was abutting this space. And the wild around it is this reservoir for biodiversity. And I think through osmosis that always sat with me. And she was an artist as well. And so she had a really unique way of looking at the world and seeing the world and stopping and pausing. And that helped as well, at least get to this point where these books were written.
That's cool. Can I jump in? I'm intrigued with, I like gardeners who have bigger frames of reference, because I think it leads to really interesting books. So it's cool that you have those kind of the archetypal psychology, the religious, the narrative interest, because I think it really adds to the book. So I'm just going to go ahead and phrase two polarities that you deal with here, and that I sort of struggle with. It's their voices in my own mind. There are things on the news. There are all this kind of stuff. So on the one hand is the voices of despair, the anxiety, the crisis, the sense that it's like, no, you're not going to save the world one garden at a time. That's naive. It's just window dressing for this. It's a feel-good window dressing for this, the capitalism that's tearing the world apart, that we're all a part of. That's the despair, and it's we all have probably sunk pretty deep into that at various times, certainly in our face every day. And then there's the like, okay, well, yeah, we still have time. Nature's regenerative. We can partner. The refuge. It's kind of like, hey, Noah's Ark kind of approach. It's like, even in hard times, we can create a refuge. Nature knows if we just protect enough of it, it can rewild. And we have to start somewhere, and you anchor with your own reality. It doesn't mean that's solving all the problems, but it gives you the touchstone to emotionally, spiritually, psychologically do the battle with the bigger stuff. Tell me about that, how that plays out in your life, that whole conversation.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a large topic, but one of the first things that popped into mind when you started to frame this idea of despair and, versus how do we find hope in everyday living, especially when the media, the current media, when you turn on the radio or the news, whatever it might be, is relentless.
Yes.
And how do we hold that? What do we do with that? Well, probably some of the listeners that are tuned in now recognize that and I'm going to start small and then we can go big, but some of the listeners who you have on now recognize that when they go outside for a minute, I'm lucky enough to work from home. When I need a break from my computer, I'll weed a little bit. My hands connect with the soil. I immediately feel relaxed. There's a microbial connection. I go into that in the book. So there's a mental connection, and then there's real physical connection. And there's just that sense of that breathing. And I say that because I'm also thinking of this Radio Lab show I listened to years ago, which we can talk about later or another time. But there's this real connection between the soil microbes and our bodies, because our bodies are more microbe than human. We have more genetic makeup that's microbe. And I go into that in the book as well, just a little bit, because it's kind of getting out there. But so for our personal selves, our gardens are these, you use the word refuge. Our gardens are a refuge.
Mm-hmm.
They're an entry point into nature. They're an entry point into self-discovery. They're an entry point into asking these questions of, well, who is visiting my garden? Who else is, what is the community of life that I'm sharing my world with right here, my local environment? And in Grow Now, the concept of growing more good, what can I do to support that community of life? Yeah. Because nature is a community of life. How do you nurture your nature? That's one of the lines in the book. And it can begin with a garden. And while it might sound trite to some, well, it's a garden. And I think some of that comes from cultural norms. Oh, it's just a garden. But really, is it just a garden? It's bigger than that. And then the other piece that I wanted to get to before turning it over is this quote that I actually just was thinking about. It's a Margaret Mead quote, and I'd just written it down for another purpose. And it's, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Right. And collectively, and I talk about this in the book as well, collectively, my garden and your neighbor's garden, when you have this thoughtful commitment of growing some of your own food. It doesn't have to be all of your own food. Some of it. For instance, right now I just have lettuces, chard, kale, those lovely spring greens growing in the garden, along with artichokes, etc. But you can grow some of your own food while also considering how do you invite and support that community of life around you. With native plants in particular, select ornamentals, and how can that mashup be instrumental not just to yourself but to growing more good, and then create nectar paths, living greenways, this connection of gardens that help support biodiversity, which these open spaces are shrinking at an ever growing rate, but together we can do something about that.
Yeah, I really love cueing in on that idea of together, though, too, because again, we had a discussion with Dr. Jeff Pierce, who comes on the show every couple of months, a couple of weeks back, and we were talking about utilizing our gardens for socialization, and that sort of thing, and making connection. Whereas a garden can be a sanctuary, it can be this space where we go to, to kind of find that, that chance to get away from everything, reconnect with, not just ourselves, but the world, that sort of thing. And I think it's really helpful in that way. But then another way I found it to be very helpful was also to kind of get me out of that sense of wanting to isolate. Right, because our garden can do that, right, in a sense, because we can really get into what we're doing and our little projects and do all that sort of stuff and find ourselves alone for a long periods of times and stuff too. But really the important factor of anything or any sort of change we're going to move forward with out of our garden, right, is for us to get out and start connecting with other people, our community, bringing them either into our spaces or going out and finding and discovering community spaces that we can do that with, right? Because then that's where that larger conversation starts to happen, right? What can we do with these individual spaces that we have collectively together as we're helping each other build and improve those spaces through sharing and doing what we're doing, but to also, be able to take on that larger project as Mark was talking about, right? That we got, there's so much to be done that, as we sit back and can kind of, isolate our thoughts into the world and see how complex and difficult things can be, that can be a little overwhelming. But when we get together, we can break that overwhelmingness down, right? And start to see exactly what we can accomplish and are capable of. So I don't know. That's not really a question there, but maybe you can expand on that for a bit more. It's just to get me on a thought path right
well,
there.
The community piece is part of what you're doing with your show, right? You're providing a platform and an opportunity for people to join in on the conversation and learn from each other and be inspired and find entry points. That's a big piece. So my entry point into gardening is going to be very different than someone else's entry point. You were all talking about tomatoes earlier. Someone's entry point might be tomatoes because there's nothing like a homegrown tomato still warm from the sun. There's nothing like it. But
nothing like it.
Right. Nothing like it. It's truly incredible. And it's so simple. But someone else's entry point might be the butterflies they see. Or for us here in the West, which I know you are as well, Western monarchs and wanting to support Western monarchs, for instance, or wanting to support the resident birds in their community. So it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But you provide that on your show, whether it's growing an edible landscape or talking about tomatoes.
Yeah, and it kind of is a result of that sort of similar process I was talking about, is that, early on in my gardening and learning and everything was a lot of, just me doing a lot of stuff, I found myself isolating and stuff. And then I connected with a community garden and I started connecting with other people, and people would walk through my garden spaces because it's kind of a public space in a way, and then started making those connections with other people, which kind of brought me out into the world more. And then that discovery, and then wanting to, and what I discovered in those conversations was so enlightening to me. I wanted to share that with people. And I think you also bring that up there as you get towards the end of the book, about the importance of sharing and that stuff as well too, and these conversations are a part of that.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of reminds me of the Fritz Haig book, Edible Estates, because part of my garden is in the front yard. And, besides the sense of like I'm providing a refuge for myself or I'm, attracting other creatures and insects by gardening in the front yard. And I live in an urban area with a sidewalk and many houses, people go back and forth. So it's the opportunity to meet neighbors, interact with them, tell stories, and then form, these are social organization happens when you have networks of people who know each other and can collaborate on issues. So you need those relationships to go beyond, to challenge anything in the structures of society. And a garden can just help make that happen because it's a tangible locale, and the same thing happens in community gardens between the people who are there, exchanging news, meeting each other, getting to know each other, trading produce or seeds. But then there's the deeper bonds that allow them to then maybe take on a developer or do something that's more socially active as activism that wouldn't be just related to food issues. It might be a bigger project where they needed those relationships to bond.
Absolutely.
So there are, obviously I don't believe that the one garden at a time thing is naive. I think our job here is to kind of flesh it out in the sense of like, well, this is how it can actually happen.
Yeah.
If I'm a gardener and I'm doing my thing, I'm also I'm not only interacting with the whole biosphere and that aspect of reality, but then I'm also interacting with the social realm that I find myself in. Or even if it's like last night I went to a birthday party, I brought stuffed mushrooms, but I didn't grow the mushrooms, but I had parsley and tarragon. And just to tell that story, I mean, you're into narrative and story. What is the power? What is the garden as a story or as a vehicle for telling stories? Let's take it from that direction.
Well, really, your garden tells your story, right? It's a reflection of who you are. And it's also a progression. It has its own arc, its own narrative arc.
Right.
And with any garden, there's the enthusiasm, the hope, the possibility that you create in your mind, and then you get into it and realize, oh, that didn't work the way I thought it was going to work. And you have to edit and pivot and be nimble.
Yep.
And I like to think of a garden as taking, and I don't want to discourage anyone, but when a garden gets to about 7 years old, that's when it finds its flow. It's 4 to 7 years. That's been my experience. And it begins to take care of itself. And you can be a little more hands-off, and you know some of that might be that you've grown with your garden and you're understanding the story of your garden and what wants to be there, what wants to grow, what varieties of food crops are thriving, and you steer away from the varieties that aren't thriving. And it simplifies the process for you, that natural editing, and then the editing that you do, that we each do. And then also on another level, our gardens are stories in that you might grow a plant that was your grandmother's favorite plant. I grow strawberries, one, because I was raised with them, but it's also a connection with my mom, and my mom's still living. But when I'm growing those, when I'm, say, gathering strawberries, there's always a part of me remembering those times, younger years. And so there's those story layers are deep. They run deep. And I mean, food is the way to our hearts, right? Our stomach is the way to our hearts in some ways. And it's such a wonderful thing to be able to grow some of our own food. But then again, there's all these layers of connectivity to family or moments in time or other cultures, for instance. So there's that piece. But yeah, story, I mean, everything is story. The stories we tell ourselves, and cultural norms are a story. I think I heard on a previous podcast of yours talking about lawn and how homes, and we know this to be true through Michael Pollan's work and other, looking at lawns historically and how they came to be, that you just assumed, well, I was given a house with a lawn, so I must need a lawn. And whose story is that was imparted on us? Well, when you start growing a garden, you realize, well, do I really need that story? Is that story a good one for me or my community? And that's when you can really start editing and modifying your story. And that's where, and I hope I'm making sense here, but that's where our stories then lead us, I think, to greater empathy and connectivity, which is where original thought and real living, I think, is generated.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most powerful sentences in your book, I think I wrote it down at page 189, yet it doesn't have to be this way. It's like the situation the troubles we find ourselves in, there's no necessity to them. It is an evolution of human culture. We've come to this point, but as you say, with the lawn, it's just because it's there doesn't mean it has to be there. And and if enough people made the choice not to have lawns, the lawn would get edited out of the larger cultural story. It just wouldn't be a thing anymore, right? It would be a historical artifact. So to me, that's the strongest sentence in this book, yet it doesn't have to be this way. It just, we have an alternative that we on.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. And so let's see here. We got some questions in here. I'll just pop up one here to JS. How can we apply one principle from the book starting today? You take one principle starting from the books today. And I think, even thinking about that question though, too, as I just think about the title, Grow Now, right? I think, and maybe you can expand on this question here Jay's asking, though, too, in the sense of, one of the things I really like about this book is it does talk about a lot of these, wider, larger principles, bigger ideas and things, but at the same time, gets very simple, and it's also does help you get started right now. Right. I mean, you can go right into learn, first thing, how do you pick out your space? What are you considering when you're thinking about your space? Are you going to do containers in ground? You're going to set up a compost pile, worm bins, all sorts of different sort of things. So there's a lot of real practical garden information in here, that can really help you just kind of get started, right? So I don't know if I'm really helping you with the answer on there, but that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was thinking about that question, though, too. And something I want to really highlight is that, we are talking about like larger things and stuff, but this really is a practical gardening book as well.
Absolutely. When I was thumbing back through it before the show, I remembered again that it was written very much as a primer for introducing some of these larger ideas that we were just discussing: nurturing your nature, what's your story, what's the story you want to tell, being a part of something bigger. But it's also a primer into practical, common sense growing by replicating what nature does best, which is growing. And so for Jay, in applying one principle starting today, on top of some of the things you just mentioned, Enoch, is starting with soil. And I don't know Jay's background, if that's your name. I just saw Jay on the screen, but is soil, growing your soil. And so wherever you are in your gardening, gardening arc, your story arc with gardening, is remembering that soil has its own ecology, and that the ecology of soil, when we tend to it, will help our plants grow and simplify our lives. And soil, if you look out in nature, is grown through organic inputs. Leaves fall from trees, little bits of plants fall to the ground, grasses, etc. They're self-composting. Microbes, other insects come in, they help with the process. And then plant roots have their own part to play, and they're part of growing soil. So keeping living roots in the ground, choosing your plants wisely, that's a large piece. But remembering, by growing soil ecology, that is what's going to simplify your gardening experience and improve it dramatically, improve the flavor of your food, increase water retention in the soil, maintain temperature, soil temperature when it's cold or really hot, all of these aspects. And then you're also then feeding that web of life. So the biodiversity underground supports the biodiversity above ground, and they work together. It's human consciousness is really interesting, because we can only really experience what's in our immediate attention. But if anyone in the audience has ever done any diving, say at night in the ocean, like snorkeling, you realize that flashlight is your whole experience. For instance, that there are other things swimming around, which can be really frightening. Yeah. I've only done it once, and I got out of the water pretty fast. But there are all these things happening around you, but we can only really focus on what we can see with our flashlight. And so I get that it's easy to forget there's this whole life underground, because it's not part of our regular experience, except through how we experience our plants, or if we pull something up, we see what's going on with the roots. But how our plants are growing are really a reflection of the health of the soil.
Yeah. What a great point. I like that analogy, though, too. It makes me think of like all throughout my life is that anytime I'm swimming in a lake, I cannot get it out of my mind that there's just so much going on down below me and around and all of that, that I can't get it out of my head every time I'm in a lake. But it's the truth, there's so much going on around us that we don't see. And especially, the importance of soil is such an important point. I'm so glad you started with that, because that's where everything really does kind of start, even though things, starts there, and everything kind of circles and creates this great cycle and everything too. But
right.
really,
And it can be as simple as
soil knowledge is a great place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emily, tell us about, so we know about IQ, a measure of intelligence that, come under some debate. EQ, emotional quotient, the way you relate to other people. But tell us about NQ.
Yeah, nature quotient.
Yeah.
So you have the cognitive test, right? IQ, you have your EQ, your emotional quotient, which is really important for how our society functions, being able to interact and cue off of others, actively listen, and really be present for our friends, our family, and our community. And our nature quotient is our cultivation of our understanding and connection to nature. And so it's somewhat intelligent, somewhat emotional. It's also just being. So one of the things you mentioned earlier, Enoch, I think is, that time in the garden when it's just you and it's quiet and it can feel isolating, but there's also flow, which is you're just moving from one thing to the next and you're not thinking anymore. And what a wonderful place to be. And that NQ can grow from that flow state when we're gardening. And what a fabulous, I just love it when I'm just moving through the garden and not really thinking about what's next, but just doing and being. And it's a real gift. And so NQ comes from that, but there's paying attention. And I have to back up on paying. What do you give your attention to? And again, who's visiting the garden? And the garden is a fabulous opportunity for understanding, well, who is visiting? Oh, I saw a lesser goldfinch eating the seeds off of my my verbena, my tall verbena. I have to grow that again, or I have to be a little more forgiving and not tear it out, because I actually have an issue with the tall verbena taking over. So I have to edit it quite a bit, but I always leave some for the birds, because the seeds are a huge win for them in the fall, for instance. And so there are those types of cues we can take from our gardens and developing our nature quotient. And when we do that, and Yvon Chouinard actually wrote the founder of Patagonia, he wrote a blurb for the book and sent it in to me after the book had already gone to print, so it didn't make it on the cover. But he, in his blurb, he talks about how the book is the Grow Now is the beginning to learning what it takes to save our home planet, and it all begins with our nature quotient growing a little bit, talking to our neighbors, talking to each other on a show like yours, and really understanding that what we're doing is important. And if we are committed to that, as we are, but take it one step further, wow, our nature quotient can really lend itself to our personal health and the health of the planet.
Yeah. And again, too, there, as I was saying about that, to come back to that moment or the point of isolating in our garden and all of that too, is it can be great opportunities for us, again, as you're talking about this nature quotient, connect with things. We're not necessarily alone, are we? Right? So we've got a lot of things we're connecting with, and a lot of that and everything too. And that's one of the things that makes gardening so awesome, is that connection to the soil, to nature, to all of these living things that are, creating this, awesome biodiversity going on all over and all around us, and getting to learn and connect with that is really, really awesome part of all of that. I think in the long run, it's just kind of trying to find that and create that balance, right? Between, what we're doing and spending and connecting connecting with nature, but also taking time and connecting with our other human beings too, right? So that we can kind of share that connection and what we're learning and what we're feeling and these sort of things too. Again, really broaden that conversation that needs to take place between people, right? When it comes to the importance of the things that we're facing in the world around us.
Yeah, yeah. And when you think about that, the COVID garden that we were looking at earlier, the one that's in the front yard, and Mark, you were talking about your garden, then, you know, there's this opportunity with these gardens, as we were just discussing, that we're all learning from. And it's that community and connectivity that really can combat loneliness, and also what could be, I mean, these are pretty heavy times, but there's an opportunity for refuge in our gardens and each other's gardens.
You know, just to kind of bring out the NQ thing around again too, for myself, you know, I got into farming and gardening after a academic career that I thought was going to prepare me to be, you know, more of an intellectual preparation. I thought I was going to go down that line, but it was starting to fracture and fragment in my life. And it was like, I'm not going to hold this together. There was no sense of I could ever complete a task in the intellectual realm. It was always like, oh, it's too big. I can't finish. I can't say the definitive thing. So when I found farming, I was like, oh, sink my hands in, and there's a sense of completion and I can see what I've done. But then I also realized, wait a second, I can bring every intellectual question I have to this field. And, oh man, I can go down as many rabbit holes as I want with biology, chemistry, physics, everything can be, history, everything can be done here. And yet it's so relational. It's like, I'm not just manipulating the world, I'm looking at it and I'm being looked at by other creatures. You know, I like these jumping spiders that appear a lot in the spring now.
Yeah.
I see them a lot in the greenhouse.
My favorites.
Put my face right up to them and stare at them. And it's like, they're looking at me, I'm looking at them. And I'm like, all right, you're a pretty interesting creature. I guess we're just two creatures here sharing this moment. We're looking at each other, and we both have an equal right to be here. You know, it's a great kind of a new level of awareness to get to.
Yeah, I love that. The jumping spiders are active right now where we are as well. I'm in Northern California, and they're so curious and seemingly unafraid and just happy to walk on your hand until you get them back outside if they happen to come in the house. Or they're a cool little species.
Very cool.
Last year, I had one in particular that would come down during the show from the ceiling and come and hang out on I have a screen right here, and he would hang out and just walk across the screen while I was doing the show and everything. I think he was interested because I was talking and, you know, that kind of thing. It was kind of dealing. So it started moving, and I love jumping spiders. They got such great personality.
Yeah. Have you
talk about connecting with others in your garden spaces, right? You know,
this is completely off topic, but every once in a while when I'm scrolling through Instagram, I'll come across this account where I'm forgetting the name of the account, but it's a young man who travels around and plays music. He has his guitar and he sings and plays music to different animals, and you watch what happens, whether it's an alligator or an animal in the zoo, or I mean, it's fascinating. That's a totally other thing.
That is fascinating.
I've seen that guy. He's the guy with the pink guitar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I got to look this up then.
Relate to him in amazing ways.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of interesting how we can make some of those connections, you know. You know, talk about like that jumping spider. I sat here one time and it was just sitting there wiggling my finger. I just kind of do it a little bit. And the next thing you know, it's putting its arm up and it's waving back at me.
No way.
You know what I mean? I mean, how crazy and interesting is a moment like that you get to share with a whole totally different.
We need to try serenading a jumping spider.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It is wonderful. Yeah, I gotta look that up for sure.
I wanted to talk a little bit about rooftop gardens because I'm a rooftop gardener at a restaurant.
There's a couple of good ones in here too.
And really was like taken by the Bluma flower farm. So for two reasons. One, because it's a rooftop, and I would like you to tell more about that and that particular thing, but also because it represents like a next level of engagement with the natural world. It's like making your life and your business. So this just doesn't become something that you do. You don't garden just to relieve yourself from like you're staring at the computer all day, but like gardening is your way into the work to make your livelihood. And so you're doubly invested in this kind of stuff. So tell us about that person and how you got to know that person.
Yeah. That space is truly remarkable. And to set the frame, when I went to visit the Bluma farm on that rooftop, that was the day in 2020, fall of 2020, when anyone on the West Coast might remember this.
Oh, yeah.
There were numerous wildfires.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a day when the sky went black with smoke and the sun never shone.
Yep.
The day I went was the day before that full blackout.
Wow.
The full blackout day, I was actually driving to Southern California to meet with some folks down there that are also featured in the book. The Bluma farm on the rooftop gardens is, I'm trying to remember what page it's on, but I think it's sort of up front.
192. I got it right.
Oh, it's in the back, 190. So that farm is on the top of, it's in Berkeley, California. So if anyone knows Berkeley, it's very urban. There are the Berkeley Hills in the background that have quite a bit of open space, but Berkeley itself is very urban, lots of concrete. And the farm itself is on campus housing for UC Berkeley.
Oh, cool.
So it's run by the university, but it's technically not dorms, they're apartments. And they're set up sort of in a square, I believe, with a courtyard in the middle. But it's these layers and layers of gardens that span the square. And when you're up there, there are hummingbirds that are zipping in and zipping out. And because at the edge of the flower farm are all these native plants. Zauschneria, what is that? Hummingbird sage and lots of, I think, coyote brush and sages like Salvia clevelandii, I believe, others. And it's remarkable. It's a biodiversity hotspot, and it's a business, and it really shows what's possible. With these urban spaces, and how with the right kind of planning, because you can't have a rooftop garden on any type of building. It has to be engineered for a rooftop garden. Yeah. With that type of planning, you can create these oases that could dot a city and create open space on those nectar paths that we were talking about.
Yeah. No, rooftops are really great. And now that I'm looking at these pictures too, I can kind of see that in the background and all of that. It kind of does remind me, it was that same time of year that I was visiting Mark up at his rooftop garden for I think another video we were doing, and you just couldn't see out into the distance because of how much smoke and how crazy and everything it was and all of that. But no, I love this. I love rooftop gardens. I just say Mark's celebrating his 20th year up on the Noble Rot Rooftop Garden in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, so, that's cool.
Yeah, just a really amazing spaces when you get into utilizing urban space like that. You know, that is another big and kind of important thing when we're thinking about, our human expansion and what we're doing. Cities are only growing, and we're taking up more and more land and doing things like that we have to kind of reclaim space. You were talking about these RE words earlier, reclaim is another kind of word that I think is important in these topics, is because, we take up and build all these cities, and then we kind of expand out, but then becomes a lot of forgotten spaces, usable spaces, places throughout cities all over in every city throughout the world even that could be reclaimed and reused for growing and kind of rebuilding our our biodiversity, right? Or whatever, doesn't matter kind of what type of gardens that are being built in these spaces either, right? Whether it's food or native gardens or whatever, it's just kind of important to be able to figure out what to do with some more of these spaces, and connect people too are also losing connection again with this nature quotient, right? The more and more you're involved in these larger cities, it's harder and harder to get out to nature. So bringing it to the cities as well is kind of important.
Absolutely. Actually, Mark, your experience with your rooftop garden reminds me of a garden that's in the book, and I was just trying to find a picture of it because I've forgotten where it's placed. But there's a garden in Santa Rosa, California that I photographed for the book. And what's fabulous is that it's in that strip between the sidewalk and a building that looks like the building is made out of cinder blocks, I think. And it's probably made in the 60s, maybe the 70s. And before the garden was there, it was just desolate. It was just bare ground with some old junipers growing that someone put there just to cover space and probably anchored the building and not have any maintenance. And there's a brewery in the building now. So they didn't have an opportunity to grow on the rooftop, but they took this strip, this health strip essentially, but it's not truly the health strip because it's near the building.
Yeah.
And they did all the regenerative practices. No dig. They just put compost straight on top of the existing soil, which was rock hard, right? Probably something where if you really wanted to dig, your shovel would bounce off of the ground.
Yeah.
They put like 6 to 8 inches of compost right over the top of it, planted straight in the compost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And grew this abundance that you could never imagine possible. And we're just slowly working their way to the corner. So they started back by the back door and working towards the end of the building. And that produce there was some sharing happening, but a lot of that produce went into the menu, right? Especially the herbs and things. And then they did the brewery does keep bees on the rooftop.
Oh, wow.
It's just not engineered for a garden. And then across the street from this brewery is a little organic market. And one of the women that works at the organic market, so they were sharing the effort of that little garden. And then they would gather produce from it as well. It was open freely for anyone. Wow. It's incredible. It's really incredible what we can do with these types of spaces, and using that regenerative principle of caring for soil, adding organic matter, in this case, compost, perfect amendment, and no dig, no need to till it, turn it, put the compost straight on top, plant in it. You're adding those plants, those plant roots, you're adding biodiversity because it's all interplanted. There's no monocrops. It's just a blend of plants, and it's glorious. And over time, then that soil depth then increases. So it's not just that compost level or layer. It's then making its way into those lower levels that were once rock hard. It all becomes beautiful, and they're just taking their time in chunks of what they can manage in 1 year. And it might be that compost is the cost of compost of that quality. Yeah, so you might want to take your time and just invest in 1 load of compost each year to then create your garden and have it be doable and manageable. But that garden is an example of what you're talking about.
That's so cool. The other really cool picture that really caught my eye, drew a smile.
Yeah, real quick though, before you say that though, I do want to just kind of commend the photography though too as well. I mean, we're talking about the book here; it's just filled with amazing pictures throughout the book. Yeah, they're awesome. Lots of different gardens, so many awesome things, some awesome photography.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, all the photography is mine except for anything I'm in.
Right. Yeah. It's right. Okay. Perfect.
Tripod and timer, maybe.
I enjoy photography, and like growing a garden, it helps focus your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the one picture that brought a smile to my eye and also answered a question for me is on 216. It shows like a telephone pole. There's a gas station in the background.
Oh.
And around the telephone pole and what, we can assume is a little patch of terrible sun-baked earth.
Yeah.
Somebody has planted the wildflowers. And I thought, okay, yeah, this answers the question for the people who don't have gardens, who don't have any physical space that they can do something on. There is this whole issue of guerrilla gardening. People can rewild alleyways, any little bare patch of anything. You can throw down whatever seeds you think are appropriate there and make a go at this whole project. You can make the world better, even if you don't have a shred of land to work on and you can't even manage a container. Use the world as your container, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that little spot where all those flowers are growing up around that telephone pole. In fact, I think I had to cross a lane or two of traffic to pull over to capture it. sorry, everyone behind me. I drive a green Eurovan, so it kind of sticks out. I was hoping no one would come find me later, but yeah, it's really special. And right now, I have some native sunflowers growing. They're Helianthus annuus common, but they're Delta. They're specifically growing Central California Delta sunflowers. You'll see similar varieties in Idaho and the Mountain West, but they are prolific. They're multi-branching sunflowers. And I grew one and then had loads after because they volunteer as long as the seeds aren't completely devoured by birds and squirrels in the fall and winter. And I have a nice little redwood flat that I've been using year after year. And the whole flat is filled with these sunflower starts. And there's an improvement club, a little community club in the town next to mine. I live in a valley of like 800 something people, fairly rural place. And the front yard of this little improvement club is just grasses that have sort of gone to seed. And I'm guessing someone's going to come in and weed whack it because that's how it just has to be simple for them, right?
Yeah.
Unless someone takes on the task of guerrilla gardening or wants to plant something in that space, it's probably just going to be weed whacked every spring and that will be it. But once they go in with their cutters, we're getting another bit of rain in the next 2 days. And my hope is that I can go in and take some of these little starts and plant them and where'd they come from? I don't know.
Who knows?
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. Just do it. Just do it, right?
Mischievous, guerrilla gardening is so mischievous and yet it's so good. And it's just, like you said, it's like even after the industrial machine mentality comes through and be like, all right, we've done our due diligence to keep this thing looking good. You can get in there and just take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's great about the native sunflowers is once they're established, they don't need any water, even in the hottest of sun, right? And the gophers don't bother them for the most part. I have lots of gophers, and I've maybe out of the last 5 years, I think I've maybe had them take 1 or 2. So it's a good gamble.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Guerrilla gardening makes me think too. Again, we're talking about other accounts that you see on Instagram and all. And there was one for a while there. I don't know if I've seen it for a while, but this one was like called either the Phantom Planter or the Phantom Gardener or something. And they just going around planting things in places and just, kind of showing up and just putting stuff and planting whatever. Like, if you, kind of again too, kind of comes down to be the change you want to see, right? So you get out there and start planting things in spaces and don't even, when it comes to public spaces, I even encourage this idea as well too, is like you don't need to ask permission necessarily if you're going to do something in that sort of sense of like planting plants or sowing seeds or doing things when it comes to flowers and natives and things like that. Just get out there and do it. And then see what they allow and see what they let to continue, and just plant things out there. I love that idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's kind of almost like an inbuilt hesitation if you're operating a weed whacker. If you see a beautiful flower, it's a lot harder to knock that down than is just some grass that you can't really, emotionally identify with. So I think, yeah, once things are up, it's a lot harder to take them down, certain things.
Yeah, I might go so far as to put little stakes around it.
Mm.
Right.
I don't think anyone will notice.
Right.
Mm.
Or anybody who matters to get rid of it or anything. One of the things that too, again, we'll kind of touch back to nature and things as well too, that I wanted to touch on too about the book. Throughout the book, I see a lot of the, and there's a little touching on talking on bees and worms and different things like that. But a common animal we see throughout the book are birds. You have like a birding background at all or anything? I know chickadees, throughout the book and all sorts of different things and stuff too. And you also maybe can also expand on this too, the idea you're talking about taking a bird's eye view as you're talking about thinking about a garden and that sort of thing as well too.
Yeah. So that's the way I introduced the book in the beginning is when you're considering where to plant your garden, whether that's, raised beds or in the ground or where it might go or what it might look like, consider the bird's eye view. If you were a chickadee, where would you nest? Where would you find food? And let that inform the shape your garden takes, and knowing that it's this abundance reciprocity, that there's this giving, and that when we give, we're given, right? And yeah, these birds are. It's interesting because I didn't study ornithology, and I would not call myself a true birder. But there are studies that show that people who bird watch, they have their heart rate is low, and they just all the endorphins or the dopamine is firing, and they're just feeling really good, and it helps with aging, and there are real benefits. Just like when you look at a plant, you immediately feel better. And I was lucky to be raised in a place where I grew up in the redwoods, not far from where the Ewok scenes were filmed in Star Wars. And
one of my favorite scenes.
I know, me too.
I'm a Star Wars fan.
You get to know those birds because they're very specific to the redwoods and the edges around the redwoods, whether they're winter wrens or warblers or other birds, and varied thrushes. Gosh, they're just really incredible. And then I lived in the mountains for a number of years where the growing season's really short. That is challenging for any gardener. And you begin to learn those. So for me, I was learning those types of birds that were coming to visit, whether they were nuthatches or flycatchers or jays or black-capped chickadees. Now I live back down by the coast again, which is my home territory, if you will. And, you just pay attention, and I'm actively working on expanding my bird knowledge. I have some inspiration. Part of my day job, I'm actually a film producer. I produce documentary films, and one of our subjects is a young birder. You can find him on Instagram at Save Sunrise Glossies, and he's now 15. When I met him, he was maybe 12, and fighting to save this type of forest in Australia. He's in Eastern Australia, in the Queensland area on the coast, and he was fighting to save the habitat of the glossy black cockatoo. And that's how I found him. He was very young and doing this great work. And it's like, we have to make a film with this amazing youth conservationist. And he's definitely helped spur my attention, encourage my attention to birds and bird life and their habitats, but so has gardening.
Yeah, it's just an example of being attentive to the world around you, right? You get placed out in an environment. On the topic of birds too, I will mention, what is it, Pam Carlson?
Oh yeah, Pam.
Chicago, and I think you noted that she's right near O'Hare and a busy freeway, but she redid her landscape, rewilded it, and saw up to 100 species of birds in her area. That is astonishing.
Pam is incredible. Like, everyone needs to check out that garden any way you can. I know that, who is it? His whole gig is, I have him right here, Doug Tallamay.
Oh yeah, Doug Tallamay.
Doug Tallamay, actually, I found Pam through something that Doug wrote. And then I reached out to Pam, and I happened to be in Wisconsin, not far from the Illinois border in Chicago, and went to visit her. Again, it was COVID. So thank you, Pam, if you're listening, for inviting me to your garden. Her garden is a true inspiration, and it is a postage stamp. It's small, but its power is incredible. It is next to major freeways. It is next to O'Hare. It is surrounded by other gardens where the approach is pretty sterile. People live busy lives. I get it. It can take time and gumption to begin a garden. Again, once a garden gets going, I think that you just have to have that patience to let it then have a life of its own. But Pam is an artist and really brings her art and her deep love and connection for nature to her work in this garden. And it's remarkable. When I was there, just sitting and listening, watching.
Yeah, you got to visit some really cool places for sure.
It was just incredible. So thanks for bringing that up.
One of the things I wanted to also mention too before we finish up here soon, which is, again, these conversations go by so darn quick, but I was kind of reminded towards the end of the book here, you talk about, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this as well too, is becoming a citizen scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like this idea too, and also in the sense of and you also mention and give some list of some organizations and things in the back that people can connect with and all of that. But there are ways that we can kind of contribute as individual citizens to some local science as well. That's even actually happening. I'll mention one we have locally here in Southern Oregon. We have a place called the Pollinator Project. And one of the things that they do is they go out and they kind of, count bees in a sense, to go find native bees and to, just to kind of keep an eye on what our native bees are and things like that. And regular everyday folks like myself can go and sign up and go out on these little hikes and tours and things like that, and do these sort of things with these sort of organizations. And that's kind of a really great way to not only build community and things like that as well, but to get out and participate in doing something, right?
Yeah, and meet people and get to know your larger community. I love that you bring up the pollinator partnership, and then those backyard bird counts also mean a lot to the greater research. And what we know is that the people employed, say by Audubon or local organizations that are working to understand and create a baseline of understanding for who's visiting, what's happening with population, probably population decline. We've lost 3 billion birds just since 1970, since the last 50 something years. And the only way, at least one of the best ways for us to help them besides our gardens, is understanding those populations. And those researchers, there might be 10 in a chapter or department. But if we all get involved and we add hundreds of people who are counting, participating in a backyard bird watch, participating with bee counts, you're learning your native bees. One, you're enriching yourself, but then you're also expanding upon the research that would otherwise take years and years, or go undone.
Shout out here to the Merlin app, right? That's in terms of birds, and that's not bees, but birds, and just the songs of birds. I love that app. Has just opened my mind, and really, it's so ingenious because everybody who uses it, it's a free app, but then you're unwittingly participating in data collection to see which birds are. So I'm like, oh, those guys are so darn smart.
It's great, Cornell. I mean, I use that tool all the time, time. And in fact, this year I didn't realize this. We've lived in this house on this property, started regenerating this property at the beginning of 2021. And in these last 5 years, I didn't recognize the cedar waxwings that we're visiting until their pattern shifted and they started landing very close by. And I identified them on the Merlin app. They were so high in the trees, I couldn't see them.
Yeah.
And for me, I usually think of them as sort of a Midwest bird because I'm used to seeing them in winter at bird feeders. My in-laws live in the Midwest, and I just didn't put it together because it was outside of my context. And, you know, you can only see what your flashlight shows you, right? But the Merlin app helped expand that flashlight. And now I can hear their call because I've come to identify their call and their movements. And I can hear them now when they're further off here or there. And I know, oh, it's that group of cedar waxwings, thanks to the Merlin app. It's pretty. And then we're contributing to their tracking of populations of birds.
I tried to do a crow call once into that app, and that thing would have nothing to do with me. I was so far off. It didn't, nothing registered. I'm like, oh man, okay, I'm really, it sounds like a crow to me, but it didn't to the app.
Right on, right on. Well, here, I'm going to finish up with just a little bit of a reading here towards the, what you got here towards the end of the book here. And, you talk about, let's see, an idea known as the butterfly effect reminds us of hidden connections among all things, suggesting that the flapping of a butterfly's wings has the potential to influence the path of a typhoon halfway around the world. While this analogy may be an exaggeration, there's something to it. Tiny acts have big impacts in your personal life and in the world. In their book, The Good Omens, Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman write, it used to be thought that events that changed the world were things like big bombs, maniac politicians, huge earthquakes, and vast population movements. But it has now been realized that this is a very old-fashioned view. The things that change the world, according to chaos theory, are tiny things. Chaos theory and interdisciplinary theory with mathematical roots states that complex systems that appear to be random, in truth, share underlying interconnected patterns driven by self-organized feedback loops. When you look into the principles outlined in this book of going beyond organic, caring for soil, fostering biodiversity, growing hyperlocal food, and embracing nature, you'll discover you're growing more than a garden. You're growing a lifeline, a new way of seeing the world. With this lens comes a language we can share. And herein lies the power to shift the larger narrative around how we grow food, how we harness energy, and how we approach nature. Begin planting today. Share what you can't use. Become a citizen scientist. Practice growing the change that you want to see and that you want to be. I love that part, that end there too. It's followed by in the next page or two. The next couple of pages are 12 tiny acts to improve your life. Like I said, that's a great book. You guys got to get this, check this out. You got a whole bunch of different really cool stuff. Again, take 5 minutes out of the day to get your hands dirty, grow what you love, plant nutrition, lots of stuff. But you end number 12 with one of my favorites, and that is share what you grow. I love that, kind of on the same lines of the permaculture principles, right? Bill Mollison's earth care, people care, fair share, right? That sort of stuff too as well. So again, a really amazing book, really powerful ideas and ways for us, again, as Mark kind of started us off with, is being able to take some of these, kind of aggressive thoughts of this calamity of the world around us and things, and to be able to find ways to really work, again, too, individually, and combined, we can really do and make some really big and great changes for the world we want to see in the future, not the one we're worried about at the present time. Right. And I'll give you just a few minutes, maybe kind of summarize all of Grow Now and all of this as well too here real quick before we finish up as well, though. But thank you so much for being here today and hanging out with us and talking about this just really wonderful book you wrote.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Appreciation. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I mean, I think you summed it up beautifully. I love that last bit. I think when I wrote that, I wasn't expecting what's happening now in our world.
Mm-hmm.
Who was?
It was kind of very familiar for right now, and I know you wrote this a while back ago.
Yeah, but
a couple of lines in there got. Yeah.
But I do think it's important to remember that there are these self-organized feedback loops that nature is, if we weren't here, nature would thrive without us, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we are nature. We need nature to thrive. And even when we use the word nature or biodiversity, it's as if we're separating ourselves out from it, but we're really just part of it, this greater community of life. And it's a beautiful thing, and to put ourselves in it through our gardens is a gift to have that opportunity. So, Marc, what you're doing with school gardens, Enoch, what you're doing with the show, it's a gift, and I'm sure your audience and your students feel that.
Yeah, thank you. It really is a privilege.
Yeah, it really is. Again, to make and connect and to create, build, expand community through what we're doing here on the show and all of that, but to be able to talk about important things and larger aspects of what we think, our tiny little garden is capable of in a sense, right? And
think of Pam's garden. I mean, Pam has changed what we know of ecology, and she's created the stopping ground, this habitat that otherwise might not be there. She's done it. Check out Pam's garden. Man, it's incredible.
I know. I'm going to go have a deeper look after this.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Well, excellent. Thank you so much again for spending your time to hang out with us today and talking about this just really awesome book. Again, a really great conversation. So many more aspects and things. And I mean, like, I got tags all over this thing. I mean, we could talk about all sorts of stuff. We got to really kind of fit it down to a few to fit into this conversation. But I'm sure would love to have you back again down the road to maybe talk about some of this other stuff as well, too.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Emily.
All right. Take care.
Great to be with you today. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, gardeners. Thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
All right. How about that, huh? Yeah, I know.
That's sometimes all you can say, right? It's just like, oh man, wow, we knew it was coming with this book, but that was what a great conversation. And I just always am humbled at the end of these things, realizing like, all right, this person, first of all, agreed to talk with us. Two schmucks out of nowhere, just up and ask him to spend an hour there.
How lucky are we, right?
Right. I mean, it's like, how come these people say yes? I don't even get it, but they do. What a gift. And then also it's like drinking a beautiful elixir, a beautiful concentrated elixir that somebody has spent years of their life making. Like they brewed this thing called a book. They did all the visits. They extracted all the knowledge. And then we just get to drink it with them. It's like, oh my God, what a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Again, too, so many awesome points to talk about in here with the book. Again, too, I think we covered a good generalization of what this book is about and what it has and all of that sort of stuff in it. Again, just packed and loaded full of great information, awesome photography, some dives into some big concepts and things, and all of that as well too. So you definitely want to, if you haven't, everyone out there had a chance to get a copy of this book, definitely get into the description below, follow our link down there so you can get yourself a copy of this. Again, you won't regret it, just as you won't regret most any of the books that we have for our monthly gardening book club.
Not one.
So damn
but this is a great book. If somebody is struggling, if I love to give books as gifts, and somebody is struggling in this world right now, if they are trying to find their way, this would be a great gift to put into the hands of a teenager or somebody, a young adult in college, somebody struggling to find, like, how am I going to make it in this world, this dog-eat-dog world, things look bleak. It's like, give them this book. And give them this book. It's like, plant one plant, get going, just do something, get outside, nature quotient, boom, boom, boom. It gives you a path out of despair. It really does.
Yep. Yeah, it does, really. And like I said, just really great information as well too. I mean, you just need to figure and learn some things about soil and gardening and composting and all those sort of things, which we really didn't get a chance to dig into much as far as that goes. But this book is packed with lots of great, just practical garden information, as well as all of these larger concepts around what we're learning and what we're, that experience that we're gaining through our gardening practice.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's got, I was wanting to talk about her potting soil recipe and a whole bunch of other things, planting perennials and all this kind of stuff. What mix of natives and non-natives we should have.
Vermicomposting. There's a little part of, I love worm farming and stuff. We did get into that as well, but a lot of that great stuff. I mean, it's just filled with lots of great stuff. So again, I love the idea what you just said. I mean, we usually talk about it around the holidays and stuff, but it's any time of the year is a good time of year to gift a book to a friend out there, and especially again to a friend that is kind of overwhelmed with the world. Right. And things that are going on and all of that too, and can help maybe invite them into a gardening practice of their own and be able to find out how, they can, again, be that change that you want to see and all of that as well too, and find practical ways to start doing some things to make you feel better about what your, interaction with all of this craziness is. Right.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, we didn't get to this either, but she mentions, there's two ways to change. One is you're confronted by something, like you get in an auto accident, somebody dies, whatever, something that you can't avoid comes in your face. And then there's another way. It's just like building a practice to gradually change yourself toward what you want, and gardening is really that kind of thing. It's like, all right, I'm just going to plant one plant. I'm going to learn how to take care of it. Okay, maybe this year I'll do 2 or 3. I'm going to expand from containers. I'm going to add some more. I'm going to add some natives, maybe butterfly. It just grows on itself, but it's something that you just decide, I'm going to show up for this practice and see where it takes me. And, we're both testament to the fact that we have been down the long and winding road of gardening, and we still don't see. All you see is the next bend. It's like, oh my, I want to go around this bend to see what's over there.
Yeah, exactly.
It just never.
Yep. So right on again. What an awesome monthly gardening book club for us here again this month. Grow Now by Emily Murphy. Like I said, go get yourself a copy.
Buy now.
You won't regret. Buy now. Grow now. Buy now, grow now. Yeah, something like that.
Or check out now from your local library. We can't forget our libraries, can we?
Yeah, exactly. And here we are here now towards the end of the show. I'm going to wind this up real quick for everybody here real quick. But unfortunately, I don't have an announcement for next month's book club like we usually do here at the end of the show. So you're just going to have to stay tuned to this space and find out what we come up with here for our next month's book club. And that kind of goes along for the next couple of weeks of shows as well, too. But I will mention to everybody real quick here, we do have a show coming up tomorrow night, another Monday night green room. That's right. We've got Natalie from the Fresh Princess joining us as co-host, and we've got Julia D'Amacos, the gardening girl, and our very own Shawnee Grows from our Grow What You Eat segment on the green room, joining with us as guests for tomorrow night's conversation. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you come and join us for that. And we'll let you know what we got coming up next week as well for the green room then. And we'll do something over the next couple of weeks as well too. We got some ideas. I know in a couple of weeks from now, we got David from Bowtie Life. He's going to be joining us from the Baker Creek Spring Planting Festival out in Mansfield, Missouri. This is going to be amazing. Sort of like you did, Mark, for us for the Seattle Flower and Garden Show. David's going to be over in Mansfield to cover that festival for us. So we do got that to look forward to coming up as well too. So lots and lots coming up. One other thing too here. Oh, I'm gonna run past. I'm not gonna make it. Where is it? Okay, it's not here. I thought it was there. But anyways, we've got our friend over at Muddy Puddles Farm will be doing a live stream Wednesday night as well too. I did want to mention that. I didn't see the thing for it, but go and check her out on her live stream and check out all the links below. Like, share, do all that sort of stuff. And we'll see all of you tomorrow night on the green room. We'll see all of you then.
Take the run. See you on the flippy flops.